GT America, powered by AWS, is back for the second leg of its twin build today at Virginia International Raceway. Race 1 saw a return to form for Memo Gidley, who scored his 5th SRO3 win of the season after missing the podium in the previous 2 races. Rob Holland returned to the top of the podium in the GT4 class, fending off challenges from championship leaders Ross Schwest and Jason Bell. Today, this battle begins anew here at historic VIR. Welcome, everyone. We are here at VIR. My name is Ryan Marine. Calvin Fish is alongside, and Amanda Busick is down in the pit lane. Exciting day today, getting ready for race 2 of the weekend, Cal.
Yeah, I'm hoping we have a smoother run here today. It was a bit disjointed yesterday with a few full course yellows and everything, but as you mentioned, Memo Gidley rebounded nicely after a difficult weekend at Circuit of the Americas and scored that victory and extended his championship lead. George Kurtz has got pace here this weekend, had a podium run yesterday. He really needs to get into the big points, as in wins, if he's going to catch Gidley before the end of this season.
One of many stories we'll be following throughout the course of the 40-minute race today. For more late developing stories down on the grid, let's welcome in Amanda Busick.
Good morning, gentlemen. What a beautiful day here at VIR. I just heard the engine rev on that Toyota Super Safety car, so I'm assuming that's going to hit the track here shortly, along as this mixed class grid. You'll see 4 Mercedes at the top of this grid in the GT3 class. I talked to each of those drivers here this morning, one specifically, Anthony Bartone, on the outside going into turn 1 here. A lot of drivers kind of prefer actually being on that side, as you can make that up after you get over to turn 1 into the left-hander going into turn 2. I talked about just now the mixed class grid here, the GT4 class right behind the GT3. Some of the drivers say, someone like an Anthony Bartone or an Adam Adelson who have raced in the GT4, kind of talk about the differences between both of those formats and how a track here really kind of showcases those efforts. And Cal, right back to you. What differences are drivers going to experience in both of those classes here today?
Well, certainly for a lot of the drivers like Adam Adelson making the move from GT4 machinery, he seems to be a perfect fit for these GT3 cars. He likes the extra downforce. It makes the S's actually easier, even though you're screaming through there at high speed. So it's a joyride around this place. It's a spectacular racetrack. We'll talk about some of the sectors as we dig a little bit deeper into the race.
Well, we talked GT3 and GT4, but here this weekend also GT2 on the grid. CJ Moses making his first starts of the season. This is this beautiful GT2 spec Audi, and the whole premise behind the GT2 platform since it was reinvigorated is high power, low downforce, and a lot of fun to drive.
Yeah, very cool race car, as you can see. It's spectacular to look at. It's a dragster. It doesn't have the downforce of these GT3 cars that you're looking at right now, but certainly in terms of horsepower and straightaway speed, it has a massive that.
It will fit in somewhere between these 2 classes. CJ set to line up at the back of the SRO3 grid, but ahead of this pack of GT4 machines. It's a fun mix, Calvin. Multi-class racing really is at the heart of what this championship has been over the decades, and sprint racing too. That's what we'll see here. 40 minutes, single driver, no pit stops. It's an all.
It is. Hear some of that horsepower leaving the grid right now, trying to get a little bit of tire temperature into these cars. They do not run tire warmers, even though it's a relatively mild morning here. Temperatures in the low 60s right now, but even so, they'll try and prep these Pirelli P0s as best they can on these formation laps. But it's a fun ride around this circuit. Memo Gidley back on top, got a healthy championship lead now. I think it's blown out to about 28 points over Jason Daskalos, who had closed that gap down to 3 coming into this weekend, but he had a tough day yesterday.
He did, and Memo capitalized by taking his 5th win of the season. He had not finished off the podium all season long until he got Dakota. Had no good results there, but great to put that behind him, as he talked about at Victory Lane with Amanda yesterday. And as you can see, Memo Gidley will start on pole once again for the second race of the weekend in that TKO Motorsports Mercedes. He'll have the young rookie, Anthony Bartone, starting alongside. Row number 2 sees Jason Daskalos, the closest contender to Gidley in the championship, starting 3rd. Todd Treffert, career best 2nd in race 1 on Saturday. Johnny O'Connell, he is back with the Ski Autosport team, but it's an Audi underneath Johnny here this weekend after starting the season in a Ferrari. Adam Adelson, mechanical issues scuppered his day yesterday, starts in the 6th spot. George Kurtz all the way back in 7th. He rallied to get on the podium yesterday. He'll need to do the same today. Vin Barletta in his series debut weekend will roll off 8th. 9th belongs to Alex Vogel. Andy Wilczek from the Flying Lizard stable will start in the 10th position. Then you find the GT2 car belonging to native Virginian CJ Moses. He'll be 11th on the overall grid. It'll be a separate start for the GT4 field where you'll find yesterday's winner, Rob Holland, on the pole. Ross Schwest took over the points lead with the runner-up finish yesterday. He'll start 2nd today. His closest competitor in points is Jason Bell. Jason starts 3rd. Tony Gaples, great qualifying effort for the Black Dog Speed Shop driver, starting in the 18th overall position, 4th in class. Elias Sabo, taken out in an incident yesterday, starts a little further back than he'd like, 5th, alongside Chris Allegro, teammate to the pole sitter Rob Holland. Then it's Tim Savage out of Naples, Florida, driving an Aston Martin from TRG. Matt Jaffe starts next to him, back in the penultimate row. And at the back of the field today, Nick Shaney for the Karas Racing Team, and Paul Keebler, who starts at the back after receiving a penalty due to an incident in the race yesterday. That's the starting grid for the race today. Calvin saw a lot of fireworks yesterday. Unfortunately, not a lot of green flag racing. Hope we see a change in that tune today.
And that's really not been the norm with this championship this year. We've seen some spectacular running through the first 4 weekends actually. We had St. Pete, obviously, with GT America as well. But nonetheless, a chance to reset last night. Hopefully everyone's got out the right side of the bed this morning and we can have a clean start.
There you see the starter with one hand and one finger extended in the air. 1 lap to go before we go green with the first race of the day here at VIR. And as the teams and cars make their way around for this second and final formation lap, we get a chance to check in once again down pit side with Amanda.
Down here, there was a spin for the number 2 of Jason Bell in that formation lap. He will be placed at the back of this grid to start the race.
Well, that's big with championship implications there. There's the end result. Jason Bell pointed the wrong direction and will lose his starting position. He was due to start in 3rd, and this is big because Ross Schwest, who he has been nip and tuck with for the championship for the better part of 2 seasons now, is starting up in the 2nd spot.
Yeah, he's starting from the front row, so for Jason, not the start of the day he was looking for. So came into this weekend tied in points with Ross Schwest, finished right behind him yesterday, so it's only a 3-point spread, but nonetheless, he's got a lot of work to do now from the tail end of this field.
Interesting. It looks like Jason Bell did get his position back. At least that's where he's running at the moment.
Key is going to be communication with the officials and with the team, and with Jason in particular, as to whether he's allowed to do that.
Well, they'll have half a lap basically to get that sorted out now. The understanding is that if he is not passed by the entire field, he can regain his position. That's what's been conveyed to us. And it didn't look like Paul Keebler had totally made that pass, so that could be a crucial moment of this race before the green flag even flies.
Yeah, Jason was in a hurry to get away there. I'm not sure if he was savvy to the rule, but you saw him almost get his elbows out to stop Keebler getting around him there on the exit of turn 3 after that quick spin.
Speaking of Keebler, he will start from the pit lane again due to the incident yesterday. He was allowed the 1 formation lap in order to build some temp in the tires, but he will have to let the entire field go by when the green flag comes out. And there you see the communication has been given to Jason Bell to give those positions back. Evidently the field was ruled to get by, and that means Jason's got a long, hard slog ahead of him to try and get back up into the big points paying positions.
Yeah, he's got Michael Cooper on the radio here, who he co-drove to victory in GT4 America at Circuit of the Americas. He's his coach and obviously co-driver on occasion. So Michael's got a ton of experience. He's really got to calm Jason down. I'm sure he's fired up right now.
Field getting into 2x2 alignment behind the Toyota GR Supra safety car. Garova Pole Award winner Mamo Gidley has the field in hand, coming through this beautiful section of the racetrack known as the roller coaster. You can see the plunge they make down the hill into the final corner of Hog Pen and approaching the VP acceleration zone. Inside that zone, it's up to the pole sitter Mamo Gidley to make the start. When he goes, the green flag waves, and the race will be on, at least for the SRO3 competitors. It's Gidley on the left, Bartone on the right of the screen. There's the green flag. The fight is on. First, second, and third still very close together. Gidley going defensive down the middle of the line. Daskalo sliding up the inside of Bartone in the battle for second.
Bartone did a nice job there of maintaining speed on that outside lane there and keeps his second position. I thought Daskalos was going to get his elbows out there early. Now the GT4 field heads into turn 1.
Clean start, big mover is Gaples. He's up a position already, up into that third spot. Like Savage was on the attack as well, a little bit further back in the pack. Here is Gaples in that Black Dog Camaro. Jason Bell already on the move though, Cal. He's picked off 2 competitors here in the early going.
He's on the attack big time. Obviously him dropping to the back gave Gaples that opportunity to move up to third. He needs to get on the wheel quick here and try and chase after Holland and Schwest, who run 1-2.
Rob Holland, the winner yesterday, has the field under his command right now in GT4, but it did look like Ross Schwest was starting to draw a bead on the back of the race-leading Porsche. Meanwhile, front of the SRO3 field, Memo Gidley has made good his escape. It's now a significant advantage over Bartone, who's coming under pressure from the more experienced Jason Daskalos. Mercedes-AMG, though, Cal, running 1, 2, 3, and 4 down Madison Avenue for the first time.
Yeah, it's such a complete race car. Really does everything well. It seems to suit this circuit here at VIR. Johnny O is hanging on there in the top 5 aboard that Audi for Ski Autosport. But what an opening lap by our pole sitter and championship leader, Memo Gidley. He has disappeared here. That car has come alive early, and Memo has got the hammer down.
Putting decades of top-level racing experience to good use here today. Meanwhile, in GT4, that Savage on the outside, make it down the inside in the blue Aston. Bell trying to go the long way around. That's a risky maneuver there through roller coaster. Might have been a little contact right there behind with Shanny, and then the Porsche running just behind him. But good patience there from Bell not to force the issue here early.
I'm going to say exactly the same thing. I like what he's doing here. He's showing being a lot more savvy these days in terms of those moments where you kind of force the issue. You're on the back foot a little bit, but he recognizes he's got a little bit of time, but he's got to get after it. That blue Aston Martin, oh, that's an off and on there.
That's Vogel.
No, it's Bob. Is it? Oh, yeah, it is. It is.
MRS GT Racing entry. Here comes
the
Bell.
horseshoe.
Yeah, he saw a gap there. Savage left the door open, now covers it off. Bell takes a peek to the inside. This is pretty big stuff here from Savage, quite new to racing at this level. Plenty of experience at the club level of racing, but only making his second weekend appearance in SRO America.
Rob Howell.
No, I believe that's his teammate, Chris Allegro.
Gotcha, yeah.
In the other Road Tech
09A,
Porsche.
I saw 09.
Yeah.
I thought, man, is that our pole sitter and winner from yesterday dropped back through the field. Now it's his teammate there in the middle of the pack.
Bell still stymied by this traffic. This is the
Bit
run.
of flutter there on that hood of that blue Aston Martin of Savage.
Savage looking to the inside of Allegro. They make contact there into Oak Tree. He's able to make that pass. Bell now trying to follow him through, but he was caught out. That's going to cost him a great deal of track position.
Wow. That was a really aggressive move there by the blue Aston to force his way into the inside in turn 11. Looked like Jason was going to take advantage and get by both of them, but kind of stalled out on the exit. See how it transpires here. This is pretty aggressive here. Deep on the brakes, basically just doors him out of the way. Like Jason Bell has had the opportunity, and then he gets pinched over the curb, probably in the wrong gear, can't accelerate away, and loses a bundle of positions, unfortunately for him.
Big setback for the driver who is second in the GT4 Championship, the Floridian Jason Bell. Battle resumes. Bell now pulling up on the back of Nick Shanny in the Karis Callis Race Team Supra. Memo Gidley leads overall. There he comes through, 1.5 seconds over Bartone, then Daskalos. Then you find Johnny O'Connell, who's gotten around Todd Trefford here on this lap. That's for 4th and 5th. Then it's Adam Adelson, still looking to get in a rhythm. Mechanical issues in both races yesterday have made things difficult for him, both here and also in Fanatec GT. Meanwhile, Daskalos a little off and on.
That was a wild ride there. You see Johnny a little bit more conservative with that run through turns 11 and 12. Oak Tree staying off the gray area on the outside. That'll catch you out very, very quickly. Big moment there for Daskalos. That is a wild ride there as you exit turn 10.
This is the front of the GT4 field. Look at this run from Holland, who leads. Schwest in second. Gaples runs in the third spot, having his best outing of the season. And then here is the 09 of Savage, and this has come in from race control. Tim has been told to give back that position after the contact with Allegro.
Yeah, it's pretty forceful. He just kind of elbowed him out of the way there, so he's got to get it really woe down. He'll try and do this on Madison Avenue, we would assume.
It's been a frantic opening 5.5 minutes. Battle down the back straightaway here. We'll check in with Amanda in just a moment, but right now it's Bell making his way through some of that traffic, picking up a few of the spots that he has lost. In the meantime, Savage trying to back up to this pack to give that position back. We'll keep an eye on the battle, but now let's head to the pits in Amanda.
Well, noticeably absent from that GT4 class is Elias Sabo in that orange Aston Martin. He had a huge hit on the front stretch here at VIR yesterday. They were not able to make it back here. I did talk to Elias on pit lane this morning. He was walking, wanted to wish his fellow teammates a good drive today, but said, I'm going to tell everyone to have a good race except the person that hit me, but said we should see him back at Road America and later on today in the Pirelli GT4 race.
A rough week for the Flying Lizard Group. They had a bundle of crashes here midweek and were really searching parts, so maybe that's the issue why they couldn't make the field here today. But Tim Savage, he's got to really manage this, given that position back, because if Jason Bell can get on the tail of Allegro, you know, he's got to manage the situation where he slows up, and he's going to do it right now and try and tuck back in. So that was a wise move. Get it done early. I think you've got to wait a couple of corners before you can go back on the attack, but he's doing it immediately.
Slots in behind. This is now happening over 6 seconds behind the leading trio. It's 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th on the screen coming through the shot right there with Keebler not too far behind.
Shanny's having a really strong run as well, keeping up with this group.
We talked about it a few times. It seems like in the last handful of races, Cal, Nick is starting to round himself into form here, and you made the point yesterday, not only is he new to racing, he's really new to competitive sports, quite frankly, at a later stage in life. But starting with the help of Terry Borcheller, his driver coach and co-driver in GT4 America, starting to figure this game out.
He is. A major progress this year to be hanging with this pack, including championship-winning driver Jason Bell. That's really a great step for him. Big momentum is going to give him a lot of confidence here if he can just keep it clean for the rest of this race.
Jaffe in that Porsche that runs right behind Bell right now, also having a pretty stout drive.
Tech Racing, we got these Porsches working well here. Rob Holland continues to lead. His teammates in the thick of this battle, of course. Car you're looking at here head on, and there's his teammate up ahead.
Top three come through in the GT4 class, but now we pan back and we wait and we wait, and now we find 4th on back in GT4. Allegro again coming under pressure from Savage. Bell on the attack, slips up the inside of Tim, and the two Floridians now racing for position, and Bell gets the job done.
That was beautifully judged there. Jason tucks that Aston Martin to the inside coming off the horseshoe and actually cleared him by the King. Typically got to run side by side a little bit longer there and get it done into the brake zone for turn 3, but he got the power down well. Cleared him early.
Now Bell with the crosshairs firmly fixed on Allegro, and the 4th placed Porsche, teammate to the race leader. Rotec Racing, many years running those Mustangs here. Made the switch, did Rob Holland at least, to the Cayman. And now Allegro following him in that direction.
Bell gapped Savage a little bit there through the S's, but this part of the racetrack, Savage seems pretty quick and aggressive, and Allegro's just a little bit slow through that corner. He kind of overslows the car through Oak Tree, and it's given bit of a conundrum for the following drivers, whether they poke their nose to the inside or not, and then he kind of dives for that apex. So Jason wisely got out of that situation, but loses a little bit of ground at the same time.
Bell got balked on corner exit there at Oak Tree, and now on this run down Madison Avenue, that's left him vulnerable to Tim Savage.
Manages that nicely, just try to position the car, make it a little bit awkward for Savage to get the run, but not any blocking or wild maneuvering there, which draw the ire of the race stewards.
Talk to Tim.
Oh, and he's
enough
off
for Allegro. That lets Bell through. Can Savage follow him through? Yes, he can. And now Joffe is going to take his shot. Looks like he'll make the pass. Shanny is set to come through. That is case in point why momentum matters in motorsport.
Oh, that's a ball move down the inside. He's in the grass and he's off. Not sure if he just activated the ABS early and took to the basically an escape route. Nudges the tire bundle there, just way too late on the brakes on the dirty part of the racetrack. No grip there for that kind of late braking maneuver.
Boy, that could have been a whole lot worse.
Oh, yes.
Let's take a look at this again here, Cal.
Well, you can see he's losing a bundle of positions. Then he just gets super late on the brakes and just dives to the inside, realizes he's going to run over the top of that blue Aston Martin of Savage. Lucky he didn't T-bone someone who was turning through the corner.
No question.
Radiator grill is absolutely stuffed with grass and debris.
All things considered, I think everyone involved can be pretty happy to have escaped that imbroglio.
He was having a good run from a pit lane start. Caught up with his pack.
Good point. Allegro still stuck. If he can't get himself extracted, that could mean a safety car, which would be music to the ears of Jason Bell. He runs 13.5 seconds behind the next car in class, Tony Gaples.
Savage off and on there through Oak Tree, loses a little bit of ground to Bell, who's taken off a bit.
While all this has been happening in GT4, Mamo Gidley's lead is starting to come down a little bit. Anthony Bartone has been turning some pretty quick laps, chopped off nearly 0.7 of a second that last time by. It's down to 1.6 seconds now, first to second.
He is absolutely flying, and he's being chased by Jason Daskalos after that little moment there.
Whoa.
Oh, big slide by Johnny O. That is a save and a half. Boy, oh boy, great car control there by Johnny. Just got in there, lost the rear end, just dirt tracked it through the corner.
And behind them, it looked like Trefford had some trouble getting off that corner. Adelson has gone by for 5th, and George Kurtz now up to 6th. Safety car is out, presumably for the stranded car of Chris Allegro there in turn number 1. But I think the move that George made was done prior to the yellow being displayed. Amazing to me, that's the first position that Kurtz has been able to make up in this race.
It's been a quiet race. It just seems like the two chassis that they're running here this weekend are get different levels of performance. He's struggling with his GT America entry, but absolutely flying in Fanatec GT.
First full course yellow of the second race here this weekend at Virginia International Raceway. Mamo Gidley's lead of 1.6 seconds has been erased. More importantly, the advantage that Holland, Schwest, and Gaples had over the rest of the GT4 field, that too has been eradicated. And Jason Bell, Matt Joffe, and the rest of that battle pack now will close up on the top 3, just under halfway through this 40-minute sprint.
Curious to see what this does for Mamo Gidley. Certainly he was backpedaling a little bit towards Bartone, who was giving chase. Let's see if this little cool-off period will allow Gidley's car to come back into a sweet spot. Watch this, just huge speed through turn 11. That was an awesome catch by Johnny O. I think the key was he's running a slightly tighter line through there, so he had a little bit more margin to work with. We saw that earlier in the race, but nonetheless, that is a great car control and quick hands by Johnny.
Behind him, again, you see Trefford, a sitting duck. I wonder if he saw Johnny sideways, backed out of it, thinking he might have to take evasive action, and that left him vulnerable.
Certainly could be the case. Trefford's been impressive this year.
Yeah.
As we talked about yesterday, doesn't have a ton of experience at this level in terms of pro hard racing. Vintage racer with a lot of seat time, but the elbows are out big time in this form of competition compared to what he's done previously.
He's won many major events within the historic racing world. There's a look at Michael Cooper. We talked about him earlier on the radio with Jason Bell, talking him through a frantic start to the race. Darren Law, the man who heads up Flying Lizard Motorsport, also standing by. Plenty of experience in terms of race wins between that pair.
We're Jason Bell sits behind Tony Gaples right now, and if there's anyone who knows how to get inside Tony's head, it would be Michael, because he co-drove with him for a lot of years with the Black Dog
great point.
Speed Shop team. So let's see if Michael over the radio can give Jason some tips here.
Got a brief look at the Rotec Racing crew up on their pit box, and it's been a tale of two different cars here for them. For the pole sitter, Rob Holland, the team owner, it's been a great day. Started on pole. He's led every lap in GT4, despite a pretty stout challenge from Ross Schwest and Tony Gaples. But in the meantime, the sister car right here, Chris Allegro, had a decent run going. Little miscue into turn one, and now finally extracted from that tire bundle, but he's dropped several laps.
Yeah, he was doing a great job. He looked like he was losing a little bit of time through Oak Tree Corner, but hanging tough there at the front of that pack, then just drops that wheel coming through Hog Pen, and then could see the positions coming by him, and tumbling down the order, got a little bit too aggressive on the brake pedal down into turn one.
Getting a report there might have been a brake issue for that car. That's what Amanda's hearing from the team down in the pit lane. And field running behind the Toyota GR Supra safety car, official vehicle of SRO America. You need to have a pretty stout vehicle at the front of the field. The pace laps, they can be pretty quick. And they've got a nice rotating cast of drivers with racing experience piloting those cars throughout the season, too. Many provided, if not all, by the Skip Barber Racing School. There is Johnny O'Connell, finds himself running fourth. Loving this new opportunity to go racing once again. And, well, it's safe to say the second half of his racing career. There might be more in the book already than remains to be written for Johnny, but wonderful to have a champion of his caliber as part of this championship. Okay, we did have a reorder here of the field. Evidently, Kurtz was not around Treffert by the time the safety car was deployed, so that puts him back to 7th, Treffert back to 6th. So two guys who were on the podium yesterday, Treffert 2nd, Kurtz 3rd, find themselves 6th and 7th with just over half this race to go.
Top 7 cars have had fast laps within half a second of one another. Gidley's fast lap's about 3/10 shy of Bartone, that holds fastest lap right now. So the pace is there for that Bartone brothers Mercedes, but and he was certainly chasing. So for Gidley, he'll probably like this. He's so good with the restarts. Maybe he can get a little bit of a gap and have a cushion to work with to get to the checkered flag this afternoon. But before we had this interruption with the race, Bartone was definitely on the charge there, taking big chunks out of that lead.
I do think you brought up a good point. When the safety car came out, maybe does that help Mamo Gidley a little bit, bring the tire temps down, maybe give him a little bit of a reset, some time to think about what the car was doing and adjust accordingly.
Yeah, because the car came alive so quick. Some of that is just the experience of Mamo Gidley getting up on the wheel early in the race and having the confidence to do that. But some of that can be the setup that the team elects to run to give you the energy in the tires early. But that's got a flip side to it. Obviously, it's going to come back to you as the other drivers get a bit more grip and yours kind of plateaus. But yeah, I think it's all good for Gidley. He was going to feel the heat. Everyone's prepping the tires right now, kind of scrubbing right now. It's not so much getting tire temperature with that maneuvering around. It's more just keeping the tires clean. They'll ride the brake against the gas pedal to generate temperature at the same time. Just prepping the cars. Don't fall asleep. Just literally get ready to go. Get those tires in their sweet spot for when you're ready to hit turn 1 for the first time again.
Allegro has made it around to the pit lane. Does look like he escaped without any major damage to that car. But plenty to clean off, and unfortunately lost a ton of time, multiple laps. That has him out of the fight in GT4. Lights remain on down Madison Avenue on that safety car for now, so seems to indicate that perhaps the cleanup continues. And here's Chris getting out of the car, the native of Sisters, Oregon, out on the West Coast. Made 8 starts in this championship last year in a Mustang. Running this season in the Cayman. This will not be the end of the day he had been hoping for.
Well, there was talk, Amanda gave us a report that they may have had some braking issues with that car, so maybe on further inspection they've elected to play it safe and keep him out of the race for the remaining laps.
Gidley, Bartone, Daskalos, the top 3 overall, and in SRO 3. Johnny O'Connell runs 4th. Adelson is up to 5th. The lights now are off on the safety car, so that is great news as we've just reached the halfway mark in this race. The first safety car period of the race appears to be about over, in the field under the control of Memo Gidley. Californian makes his way into the VP acceleration zone, and he pulls away. Bartone doing his best to stay with him. It's Daskalos right in line. Mercedes AMG 1, 2, and 3. Then you find the Audi of Johnny O'Connell.
Nicely judged by Gidley, but Bartone didn't get left napping either, so a really good restart for both of our front runners right now. Kurtz has got some work to do. Deep in the pack, he's got to make up some points. Bartone is on the attack early on Gidley as they head towards turn 3.
Kurtz did get around Trevor, that's for 6th. Now we see Adelson heaping the pressure onto Johnny O'Connell. Pretty impressive stuff from Adelson in his first season of GT3 racing to be bringing the fight to a 4-time World Challenge champion in Johnny O.
Well, we talked about that transition from GT4 machinery up to GT3 cars. Adam Adelson is loving life. He loves this Porsche that Wright Motorsports are put underneath him. He's got a ton of confidence going right now as he and Elliott Skier have a tremendous run in Fanatec GT this season.
CJ Moses comes through the shot there. That's the GT2 Audi. At the back of the picture, you see the leaders in GT4. We might have had a change for position. I thought I saw the red Aston ahead. I guess I did not. So Rob Holland continues to hold the advantage. Race winner yesterday, looking to make it a clean sweep of the weekend here at VIR.
Gable's having a strong run there in that Black Dog Speed Shop Camaro, sits in P3. Now feeling the heat from behind from Jason Bell.
Now this is where Bell expected to be running, at least in this position, if not better. He had the spin on the first formation lap that put him behind the 8 ball, and he's been in a recovery drive ever since. We got a replay to show you here. Oh, and a spin from Savage. That's through NASCAR Bend, turn 3. Looks like he escaped any damage, but that will cost him a great deal of track position. Tough break there for Tim, who's having a pretty strong run in just his 4th start in the championship.
Wow. What a restart lap there for Memo Gidley. Looked like Bartone was hanging with him.
And Bartone has dropped to 4th. Daskalos got by, as did O'Connell. He just slipped wide again into some dust. That brings Adelson alongside. Porsche versus Mercedes into turn 3.
Bartone had a slight off or just got some pickup on his tires, but right now he's struggling to find grip, of course. Puts O'Connell up under a podium spot. That's a great run for Johnny Red.
This is what happened to Anthony Bartone.
Oh, sure, he had the big one yesterday.
Yep. Got a little wide. Daskalos shot through. O'Connell also was able to come through a little bit later and now finds himself on the cusp of perhaps a podium result for the Ski Autosport team.
That could have been playing in Anthony's head a little bit when he got wide there yesterday, had the big shunt and maybe had to give it up a little bit, didn't come off that corner with any exit speed and tumbled down the positions a little bit.
Still getting resettled into his rhythm after that heart in your throat moment the last time around. Adelson trying to close in. Kurtz, though, right there, starting to flex a little muscle for the first time here in race 2. This is the reigning series champion in the CrowdStrike Mercedes, George Kurtz.
Pretty evenly matched there down the straightaway between the Porsche and the Mercedes. George runs really good speed there through turn 14. Call this the slalom. Kind of hit the gates, trim those curbs as you're coming through there. He is right there. You really feel like you're going to fly off the road, and then the grip picks up. Up front in GT4, Holland holds the lead, but Schwest is not letting him go.
No, he is not. New Orleans native Ross Schwest, a champion a year ago in the GT4 class. Rob Holland has been in the championship fight each of the last couple of seasons here in GT America. Then it's Gables, but yeah, where is Bell? That's Joffe, who's having a great day. There's Bell behind Shanny, who runs 5th, so Bell has somehow dropped back to the 6th spot.
Wow. He's got a rebound once again. Really tight there with Nick Shanny as they come on the front straightaway out of Hogpen.
It has been a yo-yo of a day for Bell, up and down, up and down. It's dropped from podium contention back to 6th, now trying to get that 5th spot away from Shanny, goes deep to the inside on Nick. Nick sees him coming, gives him a wide berth, and Bell does recover at least one spot.
Smart driving by both of them. Jason made his intention, got right down to the inside, just slowed it down to wait and see what Nick would do once they got to apex. So as you said, he's got to recover once again. Got a lot of ground to make up now, though. You can see the gap to the front is... Oh, that's a wild move. That's a late move there by Keebler.
Keebler in the TR3 Racing Aston. Shanny in the TripAdvisor Supra from Karasikawas Race Team. Good recovery from Keebler, who had to make that pit lane start. Replay of what happened to Bell. He got up to the inside of Gaples, and around he goes.
Yeah, just tried to carry the speed in there, had to tighten his hand so he didn't get into the side of Tony. He's probably tried to keep it clean and ultimately went for that quick spin. Two very strong personalities in terms of Jason and Tony Gaples. Good, hard races, but got it wrong a little bit. See if he can rebound. Look at this up front. Schwester's keeping Holland honest for this win here today.
Fantastic drive from Ross Schwest, who has been the model of consistency over the past couple of seasons. That's how he won the championship last year. Didn't win a lot of races, had that breakout performance at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway at the end of the year, but for the competition, it was basically death by paper cut. He just kept chipping away, putting up those decent results, and at the end of the season, it was enough.
Yeah, they were just spectacular, that team, and Ross and Aaron Povolato as well in Pirelli GT4 America as well that weekend. I think he won 3 of the 4 rounds, didn't he? Combined at Indianapolis in the finale, so that gave him the championship.
That was across both GT America and Pirelli GT4 America. Those 2 races he won in GT America were the only 2 he won on the season, and it was enough to propel him to the championship by 6 points. He's already surpassed that win total here this year, though, Calvin. 3 wins in his back pocket, a couple of other podiums, too, at Sonoma, and he has the championship lead by virtue of edging Jason Bell yesterday, a second compared to a third. They entered the championship weekend tied on points, and he's in a position now to make a few more gains as they run, and it could be an even bigger day if he can get around Rob Holland here.
That's huge. It's a 7-point swing between first and second, so he knows that he's got the championship lead, and Jason Bell is not having the best of days, even though he's still in recovery mode right now. Let's see what he can do by the checkered flag, but it would be a monster opportunity here, and he looks tough. Schwest's car looks really good here in the late stages of this race.
Schwest there in the tire tracks of the leader, Rob Holland. Very similar to what we saw out of these 2 yesterday. The biggest difference is yesterday, Schwest had to play some defense. He had Jason Bell behind him. Today, no pressure from behind. He can focus forward. Try and pry that lead away from Rob Holland.
And that makes a huge difference when you're not having to play defense and look in your rearview mirror there in terms of what the opponent is doing from the backside of your race car, and he's just looked forward, focused forward on Rob Holland. Holland's doing everything right now, not making that critical error. Bartone on the rebound as well. After that little moment, he's recovered. The car looks good. Early in his learning curve, of course. We talked about him having a new teammate in Fanatec GT this weekend with AMG support driver Adam Christodoulou, helping steer this car and Anthony Bartone in the right direction. I think that's going to be an asset for them in both of these championships.
Anthony with the CrowdStrike fastest lap of the race at a 47.1. A couple others in that ballpark. You pointed it out earlier. The top 5 or 6 right now, Cal, have lap times within just a handful of tenths of one another. Stout driving from everyone from Gidley right on down to Kurtz, and then Trefford running in 7th too has had some good laps.
Yeah, that last lap, Adelson was a little bit quicker than the guys in front of him, but Kurtz ran a 47.2, so he was the fastest driver on that last lap. He's trying to make up a little bit of ground at that podium run yesterday, but when the championship leader is out front, that's not helping his cause, and we're getting deep into this championship season now.
Getting into the final 10 minutes of this second race of the season here at Virginia International Raceway. Most of the SRO America paddock has a pretty big break until their next race within this championship, but not so for GT America. They'll be on the support bill at Nashville, another street course race. They started the season on the streets of St. Petersburg, And that Nashville street course, Calvin, it is one of a kind.
Yeah, it's certainly unique. And for George Kurtz, he's also going to be busy next week with a big endurance race here in North America. Then he heads off to Spa, so there's no let up with his schedule right now.
No, there is not. Racing over at Le Mans last weekend where he won his class, LMP2 Pro-Am. Came back stateside, was already working earlier this week. His CrowdStrike business. And got to the racetrack a few days ago. And a really solid outing here at VIR across multiple championships. He and Colin Brown won their class in Fanatec GT yesterday.
Watch Adelson here. He is menacing. He is looking for an opportunity here on Anthony Bartone.
Well, this could be a preview of things to come later this afternoon, Calvin. All three of these drivers will be racing in the Fanatec GT race. Bartone, Adelson, and Kurtz all in the same class now. Here comes Adelson looking up the inside. Going to the driver's left of Bartone. How hard will Anthony fight? Discretion, the better part of Valerie, settles back in. Great move, though, from Adelson. Oh, big moment there. But Adam able to correct it and carry on.
Yeah, I think Bartone felt if he just kept the car in the middle of the road, he'd have the inside lane by the time they tipped it into the roller coaster. But he'd already been cleared by Adelson with the head of steam that he had there, picking up the draft, and the Porsche is on the move.
Next to take his shot will be the reigning champ, George Kurtz, but Adelson jets away, now runs fourth. There's the Wright Motorsports team. Struggled yesterday with some mechanical gremlins on this car. It affected them in both races they ran yesterday. All of that, though, firmly in the rearview mirror at this stage, and Adelson having a decent drive to fourth and great preparation for the race later this afternoon in Fanatec GT.
Leader Memo Gidley making a statement, fastest lap of the race, his best, of course, at the same time, a 47 flat, so he just cleared Daskalus by another 0.6, extended that gap from just over a second now to 1.6.
Well, Daskalus doing what he did last year, just nipping at the heels of the championship leader. The biggest difference, of course, is this year that leader is Gidley, whereas last season it was Kurtz. Daskalus kept George honest as long as he could. Jason was running an older spec Audi, though, last year. Now running more modern equipment in the Mercedes AMG, and he's had some great results this season. And again, doing what he can to stay alive in the championship relative to Memo Gidley.
I mean, the bar has been pushed a long way up this year in terms of the level of the competition, the amount of the Mercedes that is really a dominant car in this championship as well. So George knew, looking up the paper coming in, that it was going to be a tough sled to repeat as the champion. But even so, I don't think he believed it was going to be this tough when he sits there with a stroller run. He's only in P6.
I don't think you expect when you enter a championship for FIA bronze-rated drivers that you're going to be going up against guys with multiple IndyCar starts.
That's right.
That's the case for both Gidley and O'Connell. So credit to Daskalus because he's the meat in the sandwich there. He's a veteran of sports car racing and showing he can go toe-to-toe with a couple seasoned vets. Here comes Kurtz to the inside of Bartone into turn one. This is for fifth, and he got that spot.
Yeah, that was a tidy move there. Just dives down to the inside, controls it nicely. Anthony was recognizing that he had to just give it up there. That was a wise move, but these lap times are tumbling late in the going here, so the Pirellis are really working well. Gidley just set fastest lap of the race, a new one at 146.9.
Wow.
Adelson just set his fastest lap as well, as did Vin Barletta. Vin Barletta just ran a 147.9, only 1 second off the leader, Memo Gidley. That is an awesome run for him aboard that Turner Motorsport 096. Has nowhere near the experience of the drivers he's out there against today.
Absolutely. Well, as we watch the race leader, Memo Gidley, TKO Motorsports, the team, let's get more on this story with Amanda.
Well, guys, I know selfishly you get to spend the day in an air-conditioned booth, but I have to say, out here on pit lane, getting to hear the sounds of the GT machinery, I kind of like my position a little better, and you can especially hear it between the gap between the two Mercedes at the front, that low baritone of the Mercedes as they pass by between Memo Gidley and Jason Daskalus. But I want to go back to Memo's success that he's seen this year, 7 out of 9 podiums so far, along with 5 wins, and he said in his winner's interview yesterday, I knew we were going to be good out there. Is there something for a driver just knowing that they can trust the machinery that's underneath them?
Well, I think it's a key. I mean, there's a lot of running done this week, Amanda, in terms of the testing, and as you work through the process and tweaking on that race car, you kind of know when you go into qualifying whether you've got something good underneath you or not. However, you never know what the other teams are going to do. They can suddenly spread some magic sauce on their setup, and suddenly they got the pace that you have. But for Gidley, they had to rebound. They've worked hard this week, and they've come out, and Maimo's got the job done. 2 brilliant starts, 2 good restarts as well, and he hasn't missed a beat.
For the second consecutive day, at least for the moment, he holds the CrowdStrike fastest lap of the race, looking to make it a sweep of the weekend. And that, if he could do that, that would be the 4th weekend sweep through 5 race weekends for Maimo Gidley.
Well, the only blip really has been Coda, right? So other than that weekend, he has had the dominant season. And it's fun to see him get back, get this new lease on his racing career. He's a family man, and he's enjoying life right now. So to go through all the hardship that he had with that massive wreck that he had many years ago at Daytona, to rebound and have the passion still, just like Johnny O has. We talk about him. He's a racer through and through, and he's loving this opportunity as well with this Ski Autosport team.
And again, the car in the middle of that group is Daskalos, who is quietly having a really solid season. Yesterday was the big blip for him, but outside of that, he has not finished worse than 4th in any race. Came into the weekend only 3 points down to Gidley, 2 wins, and a host of podiums. Taking the fight to a pretty established team. TKO Motorsports getting some support from the Flying Lizard organization. They've got a lot of smart people working on that car. Maimo with all of his experience, and Daskalos working with the CRP racing team. They've been around this game for a long time too, but probably not quite as well resourced. And Daskalos has been a fantastic story this season.
Yeah, yesterday was a bit of a disaster with that 0-point score. I mean, he came in 3 points behind Gidley after Coda, and suddenly that points lead has been blown out to 28, and plus Gidley is leading, of course, Daskalos right now, so that'll be a further 7, but nonetheless, still a very solid season.
Had 2 wins last year en route to 2nd in points, 5 podiums. He has surpassed that podium mark already, just about halfway through this season. Back to the GT4 scrap. Holland, Schwest, these two have been connected since the restart, really since the start of the race. The lead has been hovering between 4 and 7/10 of a second, it seems like, each and every time they cross the line.
And the top 3's fastest laps are separated by a mere 0.08 of a second, so Holland, Schwest, Gapels running lap times almost identical here in this race, and Tony's having a really solid run here, podium run. Does he have enough time here? It's running out rapidly to try and get up to Schwest and put some pressure on him, but the car looks good. Looks like the gap has come down a little bit.
Definitely so. So many experienced folks on that Black Dog squad, led by Ray Sorensen, of course. Plenty of experience on Ray's side, working for IndyCar teams over the years, including Newman Haas, where he worked with Mario and Michael Andretti, and Nigel Mansell during Nigel's 2 years in IndyCar.
Schwest flashing the lights, trying to come up with any trick in the book, but I think Rob Holland's got way too much experience to fall for that one. He's just got to keep hitting his marks, doing what he's doing. It's been a perfectly executed race by both of these front runners here. Holland hasn't missed a beat. Schwest has kept the pressure on, but he's just been that little gap back. Been sitting there right around half second or so, and just hasn't been able to put any more pressure on.
Well, to your point, Rob has been through this before. He's been racing for a long time, although he came to it relatively late. However, his previous career was as a professional cyclist. And so a lot of similarities, I have to believe, in terms of the mentality needed to compete at a high level, as Rob did in cycling, and what he's doing right now behind the wheel of a GT4 Porsche.
Well, certainly for Schwest, what he's hoping is that Maimo Gidley doesn't catch that GT4 lead pack and get by them in this race a little bit early. See how it rolls out here, but Schwest looked like he's a little bit closer on that last run through the S's to Holland. There he is. That's as close as it's been, possibly.
Overall leader coming down Madison Avenue, Maimo Gidley. If he can get clear of these GT4 leaders, that would mean they will be receiving the white flag. Otherwise, They will still have an additional lap to try and settle this. Daskalos, a fighting second, 3.5 seconds behind Memo Gidley. Then it's O'Connell, who is increasingly coming under pressure from Adam Adelson, George Kurtz, and Anthony Bartone. Expecting the white flag for the leaders this time by. No, we're expecting the checkered flag this time by, excuse me, as the clock goes to zeros. Here comes Memo Gidley out of hog pen for the final time, and he'll sweep the weekend at VIR. Memo Gidley picks up win number 6. Jason Daskalos comes home in second. There's the fight for third and fourth. O'Connell fends off Adam Adelson in that battle. Then it's Bartone, Naked Treffert, who got around Bartone. Then Barletta, Wilczek, and Vogel in SRO 3. But the fight in GT4, Cal, it's not done yet.
It isn't, but Holland just keeps hitting his marks, looking smooth up front. This is where Schwest gets really close, right there, but you got the experience behind the wheel of that Rotec machine running up front right now. Gables has dropped back maybe a little bit further than he was on the previous lap.
Holland seeking a third win on the season, a second in a row after winning yesterday. For Schwest, he's in a great spot regardless because his closest championship rival, Jason Bell, is down in fourth. With that in mind, how much of a risk does he want to take here?
Well, I think he's got to think about that. I mean, Holland's not going to leave the door open, certainly, so I think that would be a very aggressive move to make it, and the gap looks like it's spread a little bit. Gables is up on the wheel again.
Oh, yeah.
Time is running out from super consistent run for him. His car seems to be getting stronger and stronger as this race moves forward.
This would be another podium result for Tony. Had one in race 2 at St. Pete. Runs third right now. That's where he was then as well. Top 3, GT4 still tied together as they head to roller coaster for the last time. It's Rob Holland, the veteran, leading Ross Schwest, the reigning champ, and Tony Gables in the Black Dog Camaro. 1, 2, and 3. Here comes Holland through Hogpen. He's got Schwest in tow, but Schwest will not have an answer. Rob Holland flashes the headlights and will win race 2 of the weekend here at Virginia International Raceway.
Great job, great performance. Excellent run by Ross Schwest. Tony Gables will be pumped as well with a podium run there. 3 different manufacturers on the podium here in GT4.
And a great result as well for the Schwest Povolato team. Second place. Ross will know that's good enough to put you in the championship picture. Right now, he extends that points lead over Jason Bell by virtue of Bell coming home in the 4th spot. Provisional results from our second race of the weekend. Memo Gidley over Daskalos by 4.1 seconds. Then it's Johnny O'Connell dragging that Audi up to a 3rd place position. Great to see Johnny back on the podium. Adelson recovering from the disappointment yesterday to finish 4th, and Kurtz only improves 2 spots to 5th after starting 7th.
Perfect weekend for Memo Gidley. Came in with a lot of pressure on his back of that result at COTA, and he and the team responded perfectly. Same thing for Ross Schwest. Couple of strong podium runs, but gaps. Jason Bell in both of those events, so still tight in GT4, but lots to play for with championship rounds still to come.
It was very tight when you just consider the top 3. They were covered by less than a second coming to the stripe. Fantastic battle from Holland, Schwest, and Gables. Really strong result for the Black Dog team. Jason Bell, an up-and-down day, still comes home 4th, but you have to wonder what might have been for Jason because this race went sideways on the formation lap.
It did. Yeah, I mean, he's going to be kicking himself. He'll be frustrated, but that's the way a championship season goes. There's going to be some peaks and valleys, and he's just got to think, you know what? I still scored decent points here this weekend. The championship isn't blown wide open, but he's got some work to do if he's going to catch Schwest as he looks to repeat as champion.
And I think Jason is starting to feel a little bit of that because he spoke to me this weekend about the need to go out and win races if he's going to win a championship. That's definitely increasingly true as the lead for Schwest begins to build, but it's not insurmountable, Calvin. You can still chip away at it and get the result you're looking for at this stage.
You certainly can. It's still really tight. I mean, you know, he just needs to, as you said, as he said, you got to win races. He's got to get those big point spreads to catch Schwest back up. Schwest is super consistent, scoring those podiums on a regular basis. So it's all about the wins, I think, to change the direction of the championship.
That is how Jason feels about it. No question about that. As Memo Gidley pulls into victory circle where he has been 6 times this season. A phenomenal year in the offing for this TKO Motorsports team. Dave Traitel, the man behind the team, hoping to see him on the racetrack at some point this season. That was certainly their aspiration going back to the beginning of the year. But for now, watching on and smiling as the man that he has invested so much in, the renaissance of Memo Gidley's career continues at VIR. He raises the hands in triumph. And the Californian back in the winner's circle.
TKO stands for teaching kids options, and I think Memo's still a big kid. He
Has
loves his
the
racing.
enthusiasm of one, that's for sure. He'll get that helmet off, and we'll have a chance to speak to him here in just a moment. In fact, let's do so right now. Amanda Busick is standing by to chat with our race winner.
And Memo's going to get his helmet off. And you have done this celebration now 6 times this season in this winner circle. And Memo, we were talking about just the confidence that gets to come from knowing you can trust the machinery that's underneath you. How much is racing a team sport?
Oh man, it's so much. I mean, it's like if I could take a picture of everybody that puts in some effort for us to get where we are right now. There's just a lot, from tire guys to truck drivers to hospitality to mechanics, engineers. There's just a lot of people. It just feels great to get the TKO car back up here on the podium in first place again.
Congratulations, Memo.
Thank you.
Big result for them. They extend the points lead and firmly put the disaster of Circuit of the Americas in the rearview mirror. That was Dave, right?
It was, yeah.
Coming in to congratulate his driver. Great to see Dave back at the racetrack after being under the weather for the last race at COTA. There's Rob Holland for the 2nd straight day. He'll celebrate a race win. Veteran of so many forms of motorsport, and now a winner for the 3rd time this year in GT America, powered by AWS. Let's hear from him now with Amanda.
Well, he thought it was only 2 wins. I had to remind him that it was 3 now. And how can you make this championship spicy out there?
You just win every race. You know, we're quick here. We're going into, Nashville, which we're good at, and then Road America, which we've been good at. So if I can win 6 races on the bounce, then I think we've got something special going for the championship. And I think Ross and Jason have got to watch out.
Rob did win 3 on the bounce last year, including a sweep of the weekend at Nashville and the first race at Road America. So he knows of what he speaks, talking about how the next couple of races on the schedule suit him and his team.
Yeah, I mean, you do have some favorite racetracks, tracks that just seem to suit your driving style, maybe suit your race car, and he feels really confident. That's quite a bold statement to make, like, watch out, I'm coming after you in terms of the championship leaders.
I'll stash that one away for future reference because he may have just announced his intentions here, and that speaks volumes because he did not run the first 2 races of the season in St. Pete, so he started at a massive deficit and had clawed his way up to 5th in points, 54 out of the lead coming into this weekend. Schwest had a couple good runs with 2nd place finishes, but there is a big delta between 1st and 2nd, and that's got Holland in the mix again.
It really does. It's going to be tight before we get to the end of this season.
And let's hear as well from CJ Moses driving that beautiful GT2 Audi, Amanda.
Oh, Ryan, and it is parked right here in Winner's Circle. And the guys have talked over the last couple days of how fun this car must be able to drive around this place, especially down Madison Avenue and here on the front stretch. If you had to describe it, what word would you use?
It's a rocket ship. I've driven it restricted, now unrestricted, and the unrestricted version is much better. The car itself handles really well. It just doesn't have the aero that the GT3 cars have. But on the straightaways, it just gets up in boogies. And actually on the back straightaway, sometimes when you're coming up on a GT3 car, you actually have to think, oh, they're going to be turning really hard here. I can't do that, or braking really hard. So I had to be careful, but it's a blast to drive, and I wouldn't choose any other car.
Welcome back, CJ.
Thank you.
Great weekend for CJ, certainly here on the Sunday race. And it's special for him because Virginia is home, a lot of friends and family here. He's got a lot of memories of going racing at this track very early in his career. And if I'm remembering this story correctly, this is where he was introduced to the sport. So special place for CJ Moses. Let's go ahead and look back on our results, or make that our highlights from the second race of this weekend. This was the initial start, and from the lead, Memo Gidley secured the top spot. Anthony Bartone, though, mixing it up there with Daskalos, moving up into second.
He did really tight there through the middle of the pack. Then a big slide and great catch there by Johnny O in the middle of this one aboard that Audi, and that save gave him a podium run here today.
Precisely. It did cost Todd Treffer to have to check up a little bit. That opened up an opportunity for a couple of cars to make that pass come through, and that was Adelson. George Kurtz also following through to make up another spot. That was the start of George's comeback drive. Battle here between Adelson and Bartone. Kurtz in the mix as well. That was Adelson slotting through on the entrance to Roller Coaster.
Yeah, power move there. And then George Kurtz, a really tidy move down at the inside on Bartone for position.
Got him up to fifth. That's where he would finish. Last year's reigning champion still struggling a little bit to find his rhythm in 23. Not so for Memo Gidley, who took the checkered flag first. A big victory for Memo, his 6th of the season, extending the points lead in SRO 3. That concludes a weekend of racing for GT America, powered by AWS. Do appreciate you joining us for a pair of races here this weekend, and hope you join us the next time out on the street circuit at Nashville. But for now, so long from Virginia International Raceway.